Good evening. Happy Friday. Just checking, make sure all the streams are going here. Feel free to say hello, depending on where you are. And welcome. Good evening. This show is called Truth America. I'm your host, Dennis Hendrickson. And tonight, happy Friday, by the way, if I haven't already said that. But tonight, we're going to talk about a number of things, but one of which is what's going on in North Carolina and the terrible response that's going on. And it's almost like in a sense that the government is doing what they can to try and destroy these people who have already lost a lot already. We're also going to get into FEMA and how they've run out of money. Helene victims were promised $750. They are not getting that money. A lot of people are being denied. There are reports that people are getting denied that $750, which is a ridiculous number to begin with. And then we're also going to get into the flood insurance situation because FEMA, who handles the flood maps when it comes to the flood insurance, didn't put a lot of these homes in flood-prone territory in the flood mapping. So a lot of them, if they wanted flood insurance, couldn't get it. And so it's already bad enough with a lot of people who can't get flood insurance or forget to get flood insurance, don't know that they should be getting flood insurance. But it's even worse when FEMA, which is involved in all of this stuff now, all this terrible stuff that's going on, doesn't have the flood maps correct, and people lose out and can't even get flood insurance if they wanted it. We're also going to talk about MSNBC. They literally are calling their own viewers dumbasses. And I've known that. I think a lot of us have known that. But MSNBC themselves say it under hidden camera. So we're going to get into that as well. And the smartest man in the world has been saying what I've been saying now for a very long time. And so I guess that makes me the second smartest man in the world, maybe. I don't know. We'll get into that. And then hopefully we'll get into Springfield, because Springfield has kind of taken a back seat to everything that's been going on in North Carolina. But Springfield kind of ties into all of this. And when it comes to FEMA and FEMA running out of money, this is a huge, huge story. And it's really pathetic and it's sad, but it goes to show you really what's going on here. And D-Rocks and Seaglasses, who's in the chat here, you make a very good point that the government is showing its true colors. I just hope more people start to realize that that's what's happening. I hope that they start to realize that we have been infiltrated. Our government has been taken over by communists, and I'm going to get into that with a lot of the stories here. And not only is FEMA running out of money, our own government has run out of money for disaster victims because of what they're doing with giving all the money essentially to illegal immigrants. But they're also now confiscating food that private citizens have been bringing in to Western North Carolina. They've been actually commandeering it. They've been taking the food and saying, no, we're going to go ahead and distribute it. And then they've also been taking up hotel rooms that people desperately need because they've lost their homes. So this is just incredible, typical bureaucracy. And then on top of it, just outright communist type corruption and everything else you could think about. But one of the things that I had posted on the YouTube channel, and this thing just went absolutely nuts. It was over 50 or close now, I guess, to 50,000 views. Over 300 people follow the channel because of it. And haven't had that kind of activity on this channel since the trucker protest in Canada a couple of years ago. But I think what made it so popular is that it struck a lot of people, angered a lot of people, because this is a private citizen, and there's a lot more of these people that are doing this who have helicopters, private aircraft, because all of the roads have been cut off to a lot of these places. People have needed to use helicopters in order to get into these disaster areas to provide food, insulin, other medical stuff, whatever it is. And they have been turned away by law enforcement under threat of arrest if they continue to come in. And I think this is going to get worse. So I'm going to go ahead and play this video. Before I do, please be sure to click the like button. It certainly helps with the algorithm. Also, do me a favor too, and you can go and support my work by going to superchatme.com. That'll take you to the Super Chat. You can donate as little as $1 and have your message, your whatever message you have typed in, read aloud on the air while I am doing the show. So it's sort of like an interruption, but you get to pay to do that and give your thoughts on what's going on, or give your thoughts about me if you want to do that. And before I do that, let me just check here. And let me play this video. It's really it's gotten a lot of attention finally, but it's a pretty disgusting thing that these fire chiefs did to this poor guy who was trying to help.
The following infuriating video shows a South Carolina pilot flying volunteer supply and rescue missions out of Lake Lure, North Carolina. The man, who is a pilot, a certified law enforcement officer, and a volunteer member of the fire department, over the weekend went on a rescue mission with his son, but after rescuing a North Carolina woman, was forced to abandon the husband as he was threatened with arrest by a Lake Lure firefighter official. The fire chief seems to be following directions from others to let people die in the tragedy. Let me know what you think about this in the comments section.
The original post that I was reading when I decided to go up and help, it's a long post, but she's saying that her kids and family and animals are trapped, no way out, no supplies, and the only way in or out is accessible by helicopter. Limited self-service and no water since Friday morning. I thought I have a helicopter and maybe I can help.
Jordan Sidham piled food and water into his helicopter Saturday and headed up toward Banner Elk, the only way through a mountain gap in Lake Lure.
This is the mountain valley that you would have to fly to get to Black Mountain, where we were escorting people out. This is a mountain range, and this is a mountain range. The only place to fly through with bad visibility, low cloud coverage, is Lake Lure.
The cries for help from people stranded without food, water, or electricity hit social media soon after the flooding last Friday.
But my parents are stuck there. Their address is Banner Elk. They are in the first condo. If you receive this, please give me a call back. Thank you.
Sidham's phone started lighting up on Saturday with people begging for help.
I mean, I could hear the desperation in her voice. This is multiple phone calls I've received like this, voicemails, text messages, and you could hear people desperate for help.
Sidham and his son rescued 4 people on Saturday and spent the night in a nearby pilot's lounge, then decided to fly again Sunday morning.
I spoke with my son, which is my co-pilot. I said, hey, do you want to go back out and try to help today? And his response was, there's so many messages, I don't think we can't not go help.
Sidham and his son were headed up to Black Mountain. Flight tracking shows no flight restrictions in place Saturday or Sunday morning when Sidham flew through the Lake Lure Gap. But that was all about to change. The Sidhams spotted an older couple waving for help, then landed in what's left of their driveway.
Hey, I want you to let me get in. You step out and go out, help her in, put her bag in the back, get her strapped in. I'm going to take her down, come back. I'll take him, I'll come back, and then I'll get you, okay?
I originally left my son, co-pilot, on the side of the mountain. It was it was kind of unstable, so I didn't want to put more weight in the helicopter to lift back off. So I left my son with the other victim, and I was just going to take one person down at the time. And you could hear me in the video talking through with the victims and with my son what we were going to do.
3 minutes away, Sidham spotted a group of rescuers just down the river. He landed and found someone in charge.
Told him my background experience, law enforcement, firefighting, pilot. He immediately started helping with coordination. He gave me radio frequencies to coordinate with them on, set up a landing area for me to come back with the other victim. And in the middle of the whole conversation and then blocking the road off, I was greeted by the, at that time I didn't know, but Lake Lure fire chief or assistant chief maybe, and he shut down the whole operation. So at that point I felt like the conversation wasn't going any further. And again, he asked me to leave, and I said, hey, I have no problem getting out of your area. If that's what you want us to do, we'll leave, no issue. At that point, I asked him, what was the reason I had to leave them there, and he said, again, you're interfering with my operation. I just need you to get out of the area. I said, sir, I don't know where you were trained at, but I know how my training is, and I'm not going to leave personnel behind. I'm going back to get my co-pilot. He said, if you turn around and go back up the mountain, you're going to be arrested. I said, well, sir, I'm going back to get my co-pilot. I don't know what to tell you. And he said, I'm letting you know. And at that point, he waved for 2 law enforcement officers to come over and told me that again, if I go back up the mountain, I would be arrested.
He flew the 3-minute trip back, picked up his son, and left the woman's husband behind.
I'm sure he was flooded with emotions and trying to rescue other people, and I just felt that it was best at the time to leave. So I did follow his instructions, and I had a conversation with the female victim before I left, apologizing and explaining. She was standing there. She heard the whole conversation, and they were both very, very surprised, very upset. The husband, as I was leaving off of the side of the mountain, at that point, separated from his wife, he was upset. I can only imagine.
Sidham and his nearly 1,400 flight hours turned his chopper around and headed back to South Carolina, passing people waving for help along the way.
As I was actually leaving to go back to get my son, the original chief or captain that I spoke to, his crew and himself, they came back over and said, hey man, we can't tell you to go get the victim. We can't even ask you to go get the victim, but we can tell you if you come back with the victim, we'll have you a designated landing spot, and we'll make sure they don't come over here.
So there was no flight restriction when you went in?
No flight restriction when I went in. It went in place 20 or 30 minutes after the confrontation with Mr.
You feel like that was coincidental, or do you think that was because of what happened?
I don't think it can be coincidental when there has not been one in place the day before doing rescue operations, the night of, the morning of, that took place after our altercation. I think there would have never been a TFR put in place had we not had that conversation. If I had to do it over again, I would have stopped and I would have rescued as many people until they decided they were going to arrest me.
So there you go. And that seemingly is happening now with a lot of people. I mean, there's a lot of, I think even Glenn Beck has been flying in and out of there, and he's come back and mentioned that a lot of people, rescuers, those who have helicopters, are being turned away. And like I said earlier when I first started, that FEMA is actually they're confiscating goods, they're confiscating things from people, and saying that we're going to be doing the distribution. And no, Sally Mae, I do not have donation links. At this point, I'm not really quite sure who is out there, and I certainly don't trust companies like the Red Cross, because they're involved right now in the mass illegal immigration that's going on. They are a part of it. They're an NGO. So that's a whole new layer of things that people need to pay attention to, and who you're donating to. Because right now, at this point, who do you donate to if FEMA is going to confiscate everything? And like I said before, Kamala Harris goes and says, oh, we're going to give everybody $750. Oh, that's nice. And then when the people, and actually fraud has already started. So one guy I was listening to earlier, he was either today or yesterday. He said that he went in to apply. Now you have to apply for it too. So you have to fill out all this paperwork. You have to do all this stuff. So you have to, and these people have lost homes. They have nothing, but they have to submit all of this paperwork to the government in order to get $750. And I think they have to do it online. Hopefully they have their cell phones, I guess, to do it. But one guy said either yesterday or today, he said he went to apply. He said somebody already applied. So the fraud has already started. So just like everything else that's run by this incompetent government that we have, it's all going to be taken over by fraud. And the people who deserve the money, as little as it is, aren't going to get it because a bunch of fraudulent scumbags are going to take it. And so getting to the first story, millions of Appalachian homes impacted by Hurricane Helene have no flood insurance because FEMA, which we're talking about now, their maps don't consider flooding from rain in that particular territory. Now in Florida, where I'm in, and my background is in insurance, and what's happening is that a lot of these people probably didn't even realize or even think about getting flood insurance. Now, there's really no excuse in my mind to not have flood insurance if you're in Florida or you're along the coast. You have to have it. And you should know, as a homeowner, should know better. And agents should be letting their clients know, if flood insurance is necessary. In Florida, technically, the entire place is a flood zone. It just depends on, how close you are to the coast. If you're on a canal or if you have a lake behind you, a bunch of different reasons. Low-lying area, wherever it is. But these people in the mountains in North Carolina probably didn't really think about it because what did they get? 6 feet of rain or something, or 4 feet of rain? I mean, it was a ridiculous amount of rain they got. I mean, it just blows my mind how much damage was actually caused because of how much rain they ended up getting. And I guess it was already saturated, and that's what caused a lot of the mudslides and the destructive nature of what happened. Samaritan's Purse, I've heard of it. And a lot of these organizations are religious organizations. You have Jewish NGOs and Catholic NGOs. Those are also, I don't know about Samaritan's Purse particularly, but a lot of these NGOs or Catholic organizations, religious organizations, are facilitating the illegal immigration into this country. So again, you have to be careful who you're giving your money to. I'd prefer to give my money to somebody who owns a helicopter that can go in and deliver goods and deliver the things that are necessary in order to help people, rather than give it to some organization that is part of destroying the United States of America. So again, I think we need to be very careful on who we're recommending when it comes to these organizations, and what they are doing, what they will do with the money, and all that stuff. I think is very important. But FEMA has been saying that only 4% of Americans have flood insurance, which, again, it's a subsidized insurance. It's an insurance through the National Flood Insurance Program where taxpayers essentially sort of subsidize it. But there's just very few people that unfortunately have this flood insurance. So not only are these people who have dealt with this horrific thing to their homes, they may not be compensated through insurance because you're not going to be, your regular homeowner's insurance policy is not going to cover this type of stuff. Most of the claims that are coming from Helene are going to be flood claims. They're not regular insurance claims. So most people are simply unaware that that this type of coverage is necessary because it's not covered under your regular homeowner's policy. And in a lot of people who live in the flood risk area, they're unaware of the precarious situation that they're in should a disaster strike. And so this North Carolina situation where these people were, I don't think any of us, even people living there, could ever imagine the type of devastation. I mean, these are entire towns that have been wiped out. Like one Chimney something or other, Chimney Creek. I mean, some are saying that these towns are completely wiped out. I mean, it's bad enough when you see the destruction along the coast, the Gulf Coast of Florida. And then the other thing on top of it is a lot of people aren't getting this type of insurance because they simply can't afford it. And I've talked about this multiple times about the fact that everything is so expensive now that people are going without it because they can't afford it. So because of this current administration, because of the things that are happening, because of inflation, and because we've been infiltrated, the government has been infiltrated by communists who are trying to purposefully destroy the country. These poor people can't afford to get the proper insurance. And then because they don't have the proper insurance, deal with a disaster like this. And then on top of it, the government makes it even worse by what we're witnessing right now. By literally turning away people who are trying to help with helicopters, by confiscating food. And now, running out of money. This is probably the most important, absolutely crazy, not surprising. But this should, if anyone at this point isn't convinced by what I'm about to talk about now, if this doesn't convince you beyond any reasonable doubt that the Harris administration, because Biden's nowhere to be found. I mean, he's either on the beach. He actually showed up to the press briefing room today. The people in the press briefing room were gasping, like they couldn't believe that he was actually there. So they pump him up with enough drugs to where he can go out and get into the press briefing room and actually talk about something. And I don't even know what he talked about. Probably in there for a couple of minutes and left just to do a photo op or whatever, just like what Kamala Harris has been doing. But yeah, so because of, ladies and gentlemen, because of all of the money being given to illegal immigrants, FEMA now no longer has enough money for any other natural disaster. If we had, for example, if we had another hurricane, and by the way, in Florida, there might be another tropical system headed in Florida's direction, but they don't have enough money to be able to deal with that. Why? Because $640 million have been given to illegal immigrants through the NGOs that I was just talking about. Red Cross is one of them. And so this money is going to the NGOs. The NGOs are saying, come on in, we're going to help you, because they make money off of it. Taxpayer dollars are going towards these NGOs to facilitate an invasion into the country. Why is this happening? It's not out of the goodness of people's hearts. Springfield, Ohio is an example of that. But people are too freaking stupid to understand what is happening. They are actually witnessing and looking and seeing a country being destroyed right in front of their face. And just scratch your head and just wonder why is this happening? Well, it's easy. Alejandro Mayorkas is a communist. And he is trying to destroy the country. This could easily be reversed, the illegal immigration. But this now exposes, Seaglass, is what you were saying earlier. This particular story here and what's happening right in front of us is the most eye-opening thing right now that exposes the federal government and how they operate. So after spending $640 million on migrants and billions abroad, FEMA suddenly is broke. Not to mention all the money that we're giving to Ukraine and Israel. So we need to fight everybody else's wars, but we don't have any money at all to deal with our own people in a natural disaster who need it the most in our own country. Between draining the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, and this is through Zero Hedge, by the way, sending hundreds of billions in cash and equipment to Ukraine, such as electrical transformers that are now needed in our own country, and FEMA spending $640 million to help migrants, the agency tasked with emergency preparedness is now broke and doesn't have enough money to get through the hurricane season, which typically lasts through November. The end of November is when hurricane season officially ends. And on top of that, we're pretty late into this hurricane season. And so I guess Alejandro Mayorkas didn't realize that we actually have hurricanes. And we seemingly have been having hurricanes, a number of them every year. But he didn't think that, well, maybe I should be really careful with what money I'm spending, because God forbid if we have a natural disaster, I'm going to need that money. But he didn't think about that at all. That didn't go through his mind one second, because he is in power to destroy the United States of America. That is what he's doing. The agency is being stretched as it works with states to assess damage from Hurricane Helene and delivers meals, water generators, and other critical supplies. This is according to the AP. The storm struck Florida last week, then plowed through several states in the southeast, flooding towns and killing more than 160 people. By the way, the number of people killed in this, John Rich, who's a country singer, I don't know if any of you know who he is, but he's a pretty well-known country singer. I'm not sure where he's based out of, but he made an Twitter post, and he said that he has, can't find it, of course. He said that there is a law enforcement officer that he knows or one of his family members knows, and had said that they are up to about 500 body bags now. That's just in one precinct area. The death toll is going to be it's just going to be out of control. It's going to be absolutely horrible. 500 is a low number, very low number. It's going to be in the thousands, I'm guessing, or several hundred. Mayorkas was not specific about how much additional money the agency may need. Of course he's not, because he's going to hide it. And all of this stuff is going to be hidden by the mainstream media. You're not going to get the true story in the MSM at all. None of these mainstream networks are going to tell you, because once again, it exposes the media for who they are. But his remarks on Air Force One underscored concerns by President Joe Biden and some lawmakers earlier this week that Congress may need to pass a supplemental spending bill this fall to help states with recovery efforts. We are meeting the immediate needs with the money that we have. We are expecting another hurricane hitting, said Mayorkas, adding FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season. But meanwhile, billions of dollars are going to Ukraine. And she offered the $750, which is a joke. And on top of that, people who are applying for it are getting denied. And FEMA apparently is also blocking Starlink's units that have been donated by Elon Musk. They're confiscating those as well. Think about it. If people in that area, in those areas, have internet service, they can tell everyone what's really going on. And of course, the current administration doesn't want that because it makes them look like the buffoons that they are. And one more story before I go into some of these Twitter posts. The smartest man in the world has been warning that America is under enemy occupation after the government fails hurricane victims. So this guy, I didn't know who he was. Christopher Langan apparently is a 200 IQ. What I find funny about this and why I thought this story was good is that elitist liberals, they think they're really, really smart. They think they're really highly intelligent. They think they know better than everybody else, that they can think for everybody else. Like the Klaus Schwabs of the world, the Larry Finks of the world, Lloyd Blankfeins of the world. These people think that they should be running things. They should be running the planet. They should be in charge of the planet. But yet the man who actually is the smartest out of all of them combined has said what I've been saying for a very long time, that America is occupied. We are under enemy occupation. We are under a communist occupation. And I was saying this on Spaces last night, that we are under a communist occupation and that we have already gone through 2 Red Scares. One with the latest with Joseph McCarthy. Joseph McCarthy was vilified for doing what he was doing, but he was trying to clear out communism within the government and within Hollywood. And we're seeing we need a Red Scare 3. We need somebody like a Joseph McCarthy. Maybe it's Matt Gaetz, or some senator that can come through and say, hey, we're going to be hauling these people up in front of Congress. And we need to figure out who these people are and ask them straight up, are you a communist or not? I mean, that's what we need to do. Because we are infiltrated. And so this guy, Christopher Langan, with a 200 IQ, which makes him smarter than any liberal who thinks they're smarter than everybody else, he said that America's occupation by enemy forces should be apparent to anyone paying attention. Unfortunately, we don't have many people that are paying attention. That's the part. They're worried about their kid's baseball game or soccer game. They're worried about The Bachelor or The Bachelorette on TV. They're more worried about what next vacation they're going on. But we are at this point, and you could blame China, because China's sending all the fentanyl into the country. They're sending the Glock switches into the country. And for those of you who don't know what a Glock switch is, the Glock switches turn the Glock handgun into a fully automatic weapon. And China has been sending Glock switches into America at an alarming rate. And this is why you see these gangbanger scumbags with these extended magazines on these handguns because they have these illegal Glock switches that they put on the back of the gun, and they can fire that entire magazine in a matter of seconds. China's a communist country. China would love to tear the United States apart. It makes us weaker. Black Lives Matter is a communist organization. So this guy Langan goes on to say it is not fully obvious to everyone that here the United States of America is under enemy occupation. Logan 72 went on to list various ways the federal government has demonstrated it has no concern for its own citizens. Quote, nearly everything the global occupation government does is an act of war against the American majority. From fostering untested, ineffective, and manifestly harmful C-19, quote, vaccines on unsuspecting victims to illegally holding open U.S. borders for unassimilating foreign miscreants, showing criminal rap sheets as documentation, as if they show anything at all, to squandering billions of foreign ingrates as real American citizens lose their homes and jobs, to literally trying to kill U.S. disaster victims. And yes, why is FEMA not allowing these two guys with their helicopter to go in? Why are they threatening them with arrest? Because they want those people to die. And by the way, those particular areas of the country vote for Trump, don't they? So what do you think is going to happen when you prolong this disaster and make it more difficult for people to get to these towns? Well, what's going to end up happening is they're not going to be able to vote. And so you don't think that this is strategic in a way? You don't think that, I mean, you can give to charities and all that type of stuff. I encourage. I mean, we need to help these people. But at the same time, don't you think you should be a little careful on who you're giving your money to? Because you think that somebody like FEMA is not going to come in and say, thank you very much, and not allow that disaster relief to get to the people who need it, blocking helicopters, private helicopters. I mean, we're pretty close to an election. This is perfect. This is perfect timing for them to make sure that these people in these rural areas that is one of the most red, from a Republican standpoint, areas of the country. Why are they doing that? Well, I think we all know. Here's another way to steal an election. Proving his point, Langan highlighted 3 videos of private rescue workers that have been ordered by authorities not to help Helene victims. I gave you 1, but the man with a 200 IQ just gave you 3. The brilliant Missouri horse rancher, who has been profiled by numerous news outlets due to his immense cognitive capabilities, went on to criticize U.S. leaders for allowing the tragedies to play out. The creatures who rule over us are absolute trash, who, let's face it, don't deserve to draw another breath. The same goes for anyone who enforces fake laws on their behalf, teaches fake curricula in their ineffective, artificially hyper-diversified school system, or lies to the faces of the American people every time she opens her telegenic mouth. Very well said. Stopping short of urging violence, Langan told ex-followers that transgressors wrecking America should be held accountable. Something has to be done, he wrote. If American sovereignty, the U.S. Constitution, and common human decency mean anything at all, these scum need to be neutralized by means proportional to their criminality. And make no mistake, their criminality is absolutely through the roof. Yes, it is. The man with the 200 IQ. I would have thought a man with a 200 IQ would be liberal. Because it doesn't necessarily mean that high IQ translates to being a wise individual or someone with common sense. But this I love. I love this. You want to call, you're an elitist liberal and you think you're smarter than everybody else? You're not smarter than this motherfucker right here. Excuse my language. Here's a guy, and you're going to love the MSNBC thing. You're going to absolutely love it, because not only is it blatantly obvious what's going on with our federal government, but you have a guy with a 200 IQ telling you what's really going on, who's smarter than every liberal. And then on top of it, MSNBC, I'm not even going to spoil it. I already did in the beginning, so for those of you who just joined, you're going to love what MSNBC has to say. It's great. I know it sounds harsh, he added, but there's no socially, economically, or politically rational counter-argument to anything I've written here. God help us if we continue to put up with this abuse. God help us if we continue to put up with this abuse. We are being abused. We're being abused mentally. We're being abused physically. We're being murdered by our own government. And I'll finish this and I'm going to tell you what I think is going on with these hurricanes. God help us if we continue to put up with this abuse. And unfortunately, God seldom helps those who won't even help themselves. So, yeah, people need to start waking up and people need to start helping themselves. I mean, these people in North Carolina, they need help. You know, they didn't ask for this. But those who aren't paying attention, those who are more worried about, you know, what's the next football game going to be? Who's playing in the next Major League Baseball game? And they do that stuff on purpose. I mean, the whole sports, Major League sports, football, college football, all that stuff is meant to distract you from what's really going on. And now even Hollywood, and we could see what's going on with Sean Combs, Diddy. Supposedly there's going to be another 100+ people that are going to be named in that whole fiasco. Things are starting to unravel. And so we just have to hopefully spread this information and spread this to other people. I don't know what happened with that 40 or 50,000 view. I don't know how that got picked up, because this YouTube channel has been shadow banned. If I talk about anything related to politics, it gets shadow banned. The algorithm is set that way. But when I talked about what happened in North Carolina, just as when I was talking about the things that were happening in Canada during the trucker protest, the algorithm had not been caught up. They had not been programmed to silence anything related to those issues. But I can guarantee you they're working on that now. I can guarantee you that those communists at YouTube they're working on that code to stop what is the information going out about FEMA and what's happening to the people in North Carolina, because obviously what they're trying to do in North Carolina is keep people from voting. They're trying to kill them, obviously. But the more people too that they can keep from voting keeps the people that are in power in power. Langan's critical take on the Biden-Harris administration comes as he previously criticized the nefarious COVID-19 vaccine agenda, claiming it was the plan of the global elite not to immediately cull everyone, but to gradually sterilize the population in order to maintain superiority as a ruling class over the dumbed down masses. The man with the 200 IQ. Speaking the truth. So here's Glenn Beck. I'm not a fan of Glenn Beck because Glenn Beck was a never Trumper. Not to say that I'm a Trump fanboy, but I've never, since 2015, ever, like Nick Fuentes or all these guys, they all claim that they're all like Turning Point USA. Charlie Kirk was a never Trumper. Tucker Carlson was a never Trumper. All these guys that everybody listens to too that are on the right that go, oh, these guys are so they're so great. Charlie Kirk at Turning Point, yo, look at how well. Ben Shapiro was a never Trumper. Not to go off on a tangent, but Glenn Beck was a never Trumper. But at least Glenn Beck, because he's probably worth, $500 million from his grifting. At least he's taking a helicopter. I think it's his helicopter. I don't know who it is, but he is hearing about this $750 thing and then also how FEMA is confiscating food.
I have to tell you, I have worse news for you than the $750.
Oh boy.
I get a call last night, and I'm on my way to Asheville today.
Awesome.
And we're bringing out a plane load of stuff, and then we're just taking helos and just airdropping them in.
Yeah.
And
helos is a hip word for helicopters, I'm guessing. You're taking helos.
Sorry. Sorry.
Okay.
Yes.
Just trying to keep up.
Are you dumb?
I'm just trying to keep up.
Sorry.
No, I am. Yes.
Are you brain dead or?
According to Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So you got the helos.
Corey Mills is the one who got
Corey
those
Mills,
orders.
right? Yeah.
Congressman.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they are. We have to have like people who have been in special forces to come with us because gangs now are hijacking the trucks. The
They
police
should be shot on sight.
Yeah, they
Absolutely.
Should be.
Anybody?
question.
So by the way, I forgot about this part. Gangs are taking, not only is FEMA taking the aid away from the people who need it the most, but because of all of the illegal immigration let in by the NGOs, who are, I'm sure, will ask for your donations to help the North Carolina victims. These illegal immigrants are taking, and they're looting, and they're taking the aid that is supposed to be going to the victims.
Who is despicable enough to take advantage of this situation should be shot on sight.
People are being robbed. Even the police now are so overwhelmed that they're having a hard time.
Yeah.
So I get a phone call from somebody who's on the ground. And
is this our Blaze reporter?
No, it's not anybody related to me, just somebody I know. And he said, Glenn, there's a problem because FEMA now is coming in.
Right.
And I said, okay.
And they finally showed up at 80 hours or days later, whatever it is.
Good. That's good, right? Yeah. Good. Welcome, FEMA. He said, except they're confiscating the food. And I said, excuse me?
What?
4 separate people, none of them will allow me to use their names because they're afraid of blowback from the federal government. And
they're afraid just what our 200 IQ genius just said, that the government is trying to kill us. Here's Glenn Beck on the ground using helicopters to go in and hearing these people telling him exactly the same thing, that our own government is trying to kill us.
Then they will not be able to help anybody. 4 people yesterday had government officials walk in to churches, to schools, whoever is distributing food, okay? This is all privately collected food. And FEMA is walking in and saying, you can't distribute this food anymore. We're taking it and we'll be distributing it. And they said, well, excuse me, this is private food.
No, you can't.
We know where this needs to be distributed better than you do. We're taking the food. If you would like FEMA to be in your community and help, you will give us the food.
Wow.
And they're threatening them in the way of...
Well, get out.
That's what I say.
Then get out.
That's what I say.
Right. No, you're not getting the food.
Yeah.
Well,
forget it.
All of them told me, Glenn, they're coming in force, and we are not screwing with the federal government.
Right.
I mean, that is... That's really bad. I'm going to talk to these people today in person. I want to look them in the eye. I want to see where the food was, where the food is now. But it's bad. It's really, really bad.
That is crazy. All right, 888-900-30.
So there you go. There's Glenn Beck, who doesn't have any reason to lie. So he's there. He's hearing the stories on the ground of what's going on, and that FEMA is taking the food, and they're saying, if you want our help, basically threatening these people, if you want our help, you will let us take the food. And they're also telling pilots, or we're telling pilots on more than one occasion, including the video that I posted on YouTube, that law enforcement, these fire chiefs in Lake Lure, the fire chiefs in Lake Lure were telling this pilot and his son, that if you fly back there, we're going to have these two cops arrest you. You don't think they got a phone call from someone from the federal government telling them to do that? So, I mean, Matt Gaetz. And by the way, I didn't have that Twitter post, but I just found it from John Rich. So John Rich, again, is I think Big and Rich, I think was the name of his band, country music singer. He posted this on the 3rd. Just spoke to a friend of mine in law enforcement in North Carolina. He said they have, and I quote, already used over 500 body bags, and there are bodies in trees, mud, cars, houses, everywhere. No Fed support whatsoever. So can you imagine they're finding these bodies in trees because of the flooding, and it makes sense that. So think about all these mudslides, and I mean, there was a video showing a mudslide of, I mean, it was just water and mud. I mean, it had to be moving at like 50 miles an hour. Here's Matt Gaetz, heartbreaking text I just got from a friend in Georgia. Kamala's Katrina. Good afternoon. Hope you're doing well. Just wanted to fill you in. I live in Augusta, Georgia now, and it's been a war zone after the hurricane and 2 tornadoes. Shooting, looting, price gouging, no power, water, or food, and no help from the administration. Surprise, surprise. Kamala showed up yesterday and promised everyone $750 from FEMA. Most of the city has filed already, and we have all been denied the $750. This is coming from Matt Gaetz, who I certainly hope, and really is the only guy, maybe Thomas Massey, maybe, but I think Matt Gaetz is the only person that I have any hope for in being another Joseph McCarthy. And when Trump gets back in, as long as these people don't cheat, I think they're trying to pull out all the stops, but I don't think they're going to be able to cheat in time. But I think Trump needs to, this is what Trump needs to do, is he needs to have Kash Patel, the head of the DOJ, the AG, because Kash Patel is the only person who's been talking about going after all of these communists and essentially retaliating against all these people that have been going after Trump with lawfare and all the fake lawsuits, all the fake charges, all the fake trials, the malicious prosecution, selective prosecution, prosecutorial misconduct. All of these people like Jack Smith and Fannie Willis and all these dirtbags need to not only lose their law license, but go to jail for what they did. It's election interference. But that's what we need. We need a Kash Patel, the head of the DOJ. We need Matt Gaetz to be a new Joseph McCarthy and root out communism and have a third Red Scare. History repeats itself. It's repeating itself again. Just like the first Red Scare in the early 1900s, then the second Red Scare with Joseph McCarthy, and now we need a third. We have to have a third. We need Peter Navarro back in again, because I'm sure he's pissed after serving time in jail. And then Steve Bannon, who I'm sure is pissed as well. And get him back in. And start going after all the people that went after Trump. Because everybody could say, we need Trump back in, everything was better. If Trump gets in, Trump needs to do all of these things. He can't just go in and be a Casper Milquetoast. And what I'm worried about now is really what's been, what do you think they're trying? Look at these attempts on his life. And people act like this, it's like really not a big deal. Can you imagine? And I think he's going to be a butler tomorrow. I'm not sure. Elon Musk is going to be with him, and I'm not sure, you'd say what you want about Elon Musk, but I think Elon Musk is pretty pissed considering what's going on and what happened to his son. But he's going to be back in Butler, Pennsylvania again, I think tomorrow. And, if you just put two and two together, and if anyone ever says to you, because I love how Harry Sisson and Brooklyn Dad Defiant and all these, the Krasensteins, I love all these little pieces of garbage who say, well, Donald Trump's a rapist. Donald Trump's charged with all these. Okay, first of all, your argument if anyone brings that up is funny. What was the evidence in the case with E. Jean Carroll? What was the evidence? Well, there was none. There literally was no evidence. It was, she said that something happened and he said it wasn't, and then she won a bunch of money because she said he's a liar. But do you notice how all of the Democrats and the leftists and the paid shills all say that he's a rapist? The easiest argument in that case is that. But across the board on all of these, the easiest to win an argument when it comes to the lawfare part and all these charges and everything is funny, the timing of it. All of a sudden, all of these charges were brought on, one case after another, all when he announced that he was going to run for president. Yeah, that's a good point where he supports Malay because theoretically wants the lithium mines in Brazil. That's another rabbit hole we can get into at some other point, but I mean, we have to sort of take what we can get at this point, I guess, and the fact that we have X, I mean, like I said, I was demonetized for a while on YouTube. I get no traction on Rumble. So being able to go on X, and those of you who want to, my X and Rumble account will pop up just under my camera, or the picture there, the video, so you can follow me there in case I do get kicked off of YouTube, which I expect at some point will probably happen. They certainly took all the money away, the demonetization. And of course, what I talk about there, you basically have to sneak through the algorithm in order to get any views. So, yeah, I went off on a tangent there, but we do need a third Red Scare. We do need another Joseph McCarthy, and we do need Trump to retaliate when he gets into office. Now, you want to talk about a real, there's no question in my mind that somebody has something on Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is compromised somehow. Listen to what this guy says.
You can thank Donald Trump and Elon Musk for that. But look, I've been going all over South Carolina like most people. I hadn't slept much. But look what's going on in Israel. Our friends in Israel are surrounded by people that want to kill them, destroy them, a second Holocaust in the making. And Biden says be proportional. What is the proportional response to people who want to kill you and your family? Gosh. They're running out of ammunition in Israel. We have to help our friends to keep the war over there from coming here. They're willing to
keep the war over there from coming over here. Israel's more important than the people in North Carolina. Why is it that we have to spend all this money to Ukraine, all this money to Israel? I mean, the fact that Lindsey Graham said what he said, and this is Lindsey Graham, this is who he is. He is a rhino. I mean, he doesn't care about his own state. He cares more about Israel than he does the United States of America. I mean, I've been losing sleep. Yeah, but the more important thing is what's going on in Israel. Yeah, what have our friends done for us lately? That, again, that's a whole nother rabbit hole, chasm that we can get into. But this is who we have in the Republican Party. It's a uniparty, and by the way, there are no Republicans and Democrats. There are, every single one of them in Washington is an enemy, except for somebody like a Matt Gaetz. That's the scary thing to me, is that we really don't have anybody that's in our corner. And I think the communist infiltration is much greater than it has been since the first Red Scare and the second Red Scare. I mean, this is a Bolshevik Revolution 2.0. And like I said, history is repeating itself. And now the communists have really taken over, and they think they know how to run things. And when they find out that they can't, because, I mean, here's a perfect example. This thing with North Carolina is a perfect example of that. They can't run anything. they're so incompetent. I mean, to think that communism can work just goes to show how dumb you are. When they know or realize that people say, no, I'm not gonna go along with you, and they start waking up, then they start killing you. I mean, they're trying to do it now. And I mean, it's a much more modern type way of doing things now. It's not as kinetic as it used to be. Am I planning on covering the something health event with Trump and RFK Jr.? Kazan, I'm not aware of that. I probably should be. I feel like, I don't know why I don't know what that is. But I'll look into that. Yeah. When is it? The next few days? It depends too. Unfortunately I do have to work for a living. So I might not be able to do it, but I'll look into it more. I'm not. Yeah, if you can find it, let me know. Yeah, Lockheed Martin. So the military-industrial complex obviously is in charge of what's going on. That most likely is Lindsey Graham. I think it was trying to think of the website. I can't remember the name off the top of my head, but Open Secrets, I think it is. And it shows where all the money and the donors come from and who they are. And Lindsey Graham is a military industrial complex guy, but I'm pretty sure that they have Lindsey Graham. They probably have a video of him, doing something, they've got him compromised somehow. Because you don't get all that, into, Israel. I mean, for him, the basic, North Carolina, yeah. But Israel, I mean, when you get that excited over it, somebody's got something on you there. So to kind of tie in with the illegal immigration and why FEMA's out of money, Savannah Hernandez, who's with Turning Point USA, but I guess she's got to work somewhere. She did a story about, and I think she did one in Massachusetts, and this one's in Maine. But they're furnished Maine apartments where migrants are getting 2 years of free rent and utilities. So you want to know why we're out of money for North Carolina flood victims is because we have millions upon millions of illegal immigrants getting free everything. And guess what? A lot of them, when some of these investigators knock on the doors and talk to these people who can't barely speak English, or they don't, they ask them in their various languages, are you registered to vote? And many of them are. So I was on Alex Jones' show a few weeks ago, and one of the questions he had asked is, what do you think that the Democrats are going to do this time in order to steal the election? And quite honestly, I didn't know. I do know now. They're going to, as best as they possibly can within the time limit that they have, they are going to turn these illegal immigrants into voters.
How much is rent here?
Free. 2 years, 3 years.
After 2 years, we have to pay the rent.
All right, y'all, this is Savannah Hernandez in Brunswick, Maine, reporting to you from the apartments where migrants are getting their rent paid for up to 2 years. Now, I wanted to give you guys a first inside look at these units. The migrants shared with us that they come furnished, so they have a flat screen TV in there, couches, tables and chairs, a bed. We also asked them as well, hey, are you paying utilities here? They shared with us that nope, they do not have a water bill, they do not have an electricity bill.
And what about the...
Isn't that nice? Yeah, I don't know about, a lot of people are saying that North Carolina has lithium deposits in those areas. Also, someone had also said that BlackRock had signed some sort of deal in one of the towns worst hit, like 90 days prior to the hurricane going through. So I don't know if that's true or not. I didn't really look into that. If BlackRock did sign that deal, and the lithium deposit thing, I don't know. I mean, anything's possible. I think at this point now, it's a lot of these hurricanes are actually being. We have the technology, the cloud seeding technology. We have technology that's been around for a very long time that can strengthen hurricanes, destroy hurricanes, steer hurricanes. And it could very well be that what's happening is that, is the technology good enough now to be able to do the things that, cause something like this? I mean, now what are they doing? Are they trying to send another one in our direction to, because another one's coming. So it's a far reach, but it's 2024. You just sit there and tell me that we can legit, I mean, I know for sure. I mean, they do it in Dubai. They could literally make it rain in Dubai. Now, if you have that kind of technology, is it a far-fetched to create hurricanes, strengthen a hurricane, steer a hurricane, destroy a hurricane? It may very well be. So,
light and the water.
Everything is good. We don't pay anything.
Now, I wanted to focus in on this area of Maine because there is a housing crisis going on currently for residents, and these buildings were initially created for Maine residents, but then it was decided that homeless migrants would be living here. Now, as an American, you can rent out one of these units, but a one-bedroom is going to run you about $1,800, and a two-bedroom is going to run you about $2,300. By the way, the average housing price for a house over here in Brunswick is about $480,000. So there was obviously a lot of outrage when it was first discovered that migrants were going to be housed here for free on taxpayer dollar. Now, I wanted to focus in on Brunswick as well because this is the same county that has received FEMA funding from that same program that spent almost $1 billion through the fiscal year of 2023 and 2024 on sheltering illegal immigrants throughout the United States of America. By the way, FEMA coming out and saying that they have run out of that funding.
We are expecting another hurricane hitting. We do not have the funds. FEMA does not have the funds to make it through the season.
This is why I wanted to come up this way. This is why I wanted to come to Brunswick, because I wanted to show you guys a comparison of how the federal government is treating American citizens versus illegal immigrants and migrants in this country. This is how migrants up in Maine, up in Brunswick are living. We also went to Bangor, we went to Lewiston, and there are African migrants who share with us that they really like it over here, that they've been treated very well. We spoke to Catholic Charities who told us that they are expecting more migrants. They're actually bringing more migrants.
Catholic Charities, they want more money. They want, that's one of the groups. That's one of the groups that gets taxpayer money in order to bring these migrants in. They make money off of this. And that's what's been going on in Springfield with the Haitian immigrants, illegal immigrants.
Up this way.
Yeah, so we're expecting up to 150 refugees starting yesterday until September 30th, which is the fiscal year. And then
So this person here, who works for Catholic Charities in Maine and Bangor, should go to jail. Everybody facilitating all of this should go to jail.
We also have walk-in clients, which will increase those numbers. Generally, for refugees that we know are coming, we help them get set up with an apartment, but we're always looking for like other landlords to work with as well for apartments.
So I wanted to give you guys an idea of what was going on in Maine, the uppermost corners of the United States of America, where you wouldn't expect there to be migrants. This is a direct result of the open border, the illegal immigration crisis that has been allowed to prosper over the past 3-4 years, and it's stretching to even areas of America that you wouldn't expect.
So going back to what we were saying earlier, this is, you know, whatever the case may be, whatever the reasoning is here you have all of our taxpayer money going to facilitating illegal immigrants in order to change the demographics of the country, change the voters of the country in order to keep the people that are in power in power. So there are people that are probably, I mean, there are a lot of dead people in North Carolina from the storm. There are people who are going to die because they're probably stranded somewhere and most people don't even know where they are. And FEMA's going to run out of money because we've been giving it all to these NGOs who've been giving it to these migrants and giving them 2 years of free rent and utilities. So, you know, these arguments on whether or not, you know, we need lithium in those areas or chips and all that kind of stuff is really kind of not really that important. It's about whether or not the entire country is going to slip into a communist regime where none of that stuff matters. Because do you not think that they're going to arm those migrants and say, hey, you want to stay in this country, you're going to go after all the white people that vote for Donald Trump, and you're going to go after all the people that have guns. They're going to take the guns away from us. Next thing you know, you're going to be in a FEMA camp. FEMA is going to be running camps that everybody's going to be in prison in, and you know, computer chips and lithium and all that kind of shit's not going to matter. And once again, this is what's frustrating. People pay attention to the things that just don't make any sense. We're being completely taken over by communists. They're going to put us in jail or in a camp. Then we're sitting here talking about whether or not Elon Musk wants lithium mines, which I'm sure is not what this is. And getting back to the Atlantic, or the steering of hurricanes and everything, you know, sound waves or have been explained on doing all that kind of stuff. How much power is needed to do so, I don't know. But more recently, there's something that has happened in the Atlantic that is unexplained. A few months this summer, a large strip of the Atlantic Ocean along the equator cooled at record speed. Though the cold patch is now warming its way back to normal, scientists are still baffled at what caused the dramatic cooling in the first place. Sea surface temperatures in the eastern equatorial Atlantic were the hottest in February and March, when they exceeded 86 degrees. And that's Fahrenheit. The warmest months on record since 1982. When June rolled in, temperatures began plummeting mysteriously, reaching their coolest in late July at 77. Scientists can't figure it out. So, you know, is that connected to what's going on with the hurricanes? Obviously, the hurricanes feed off of warm water. But could it be some sort of system or man-made type thing in order to test on whether or not they can cool an ocean to prevent a hurricane from forming? You know, so I just find it interesting that, you know, if you were to look at these spaghetti models, they all seem to be kind of going in that same direction. And I think more than anything, if all of this stuff, I mean, you can throw out the whole weather manipulation deal, but the way everything is being handled right now is, to me, to control voting. And by controlling the vote, especially in a territory like North Carolina, Western North Carolina, that is mostly going to vote for Trump. If they can keep those people in that, and it's considered a swing state as far as I know still, then that's going to keep these people in power. That's what that is what they want. Now here, I mean, you want to talk about the just the mass of money that is being spent on these illegal immigrants, and what should piss people off to no end is the amount of money they're getting on these debit card things. And here's somebody who explains what that's all about.
I can tell you personally that when I worked at the grocery store and I cashed them out, the receipts were alarming. $13,000 on EBT food, not including the $29,000 that was on EBT cash.
They had $30,000 on their EBT cash balance left.
Yes.
And as a cashier, you can see that.
Yes.
And you're like, holy shit, why do you have 30 grand on
It's infuriating.
On one person's card.
It's infuriating. Yes.
So tens of thousands of dollars on these debit cards. So the main story where they're getting free rent, I mean, you see when during the debates with Biden, what did Biden say? We got to flood the United States with these illegals. The illegals know when they're interviewed that they get ready, or they were getting ready, because somehow they knew that Biden was going to win, which also goes to tell you that the election was fixed. But they all pretty much got ready to flood the border like Biden said, because they all said that we knew Biden was going to win and they were going to let us in. So a lot of them are being lied to and being told that you're going to come here and you're going to get a job. That's what ends up happening, is they're told that they're going to get a job. Well, obviously that hasn't happened. But they get these, they don't want them going back. So in order to keep them there and turn them into voters illegally, they give them taxpayer money. So their taxpayer money is used to facilitate to the NGOs to help them in country and out of country to get them in. And then they get free housing, free food on our taxes, the money that we pay in our taxes, along with all the money that we send to all of these wars, endless wars. And then when we have a natural disaster, Alejandro Mayorkas has absolutely no, he just says, if I were him, I would be like, I'm devastated to say this. This is a horrible thing for me to say, but we're going to be out of money. He just says it matter of fact, like, fuck you. Yeah, we're going to run out of money. What are you going to do about it? Because he doesn't care, because he's a communist. He doesn't care what happens to this country. Alejandro Mayorkas is an American. He's from South America. He hates America. He has no problem watching it get destroyed. That's what we're infiltrated by. Plus, he's Jewish, so he doesn't care about... He probably cares more about things that are going on in Israel than America. So he doesn't care about America. To him, it's fine to destroy it because he has no allegiance to this country. He's a Jewish South American. So here, a producer getting into the MSNBC, James O'Keefe, he's made out to be a deceptive editor. This is what the left does in order to try to defame him. Is they say that he deceptively edits his videos when he doesn't edit them at all. He just plays them. But of course, because he's showing what these people are doing, because they're admitting their guilt, because they're going out on dates with these women who are able to get them to talk. This is a producer who said they are doing everything they possibly can to help the Harris administration. So this guy, Basil Hamdan, a writer and producer for MSNBC's show Amen. I don't know what, I've never heard of this show. Well, I don't watch MSNBC, but he was asked what the network has done to assist Kamala Harris's campaign. He revealed on hidden camera what her message of the day is their message of the day, as MSNBC actively pushes Harris's narrative to help her win. He admitted that MSNBC is doing all they can do to help Harris get elected. This is unbelievable. He admitted that MSNBC is the only thing to get elected, with the network operating as an extension of the campaign. He went on to say MSNBC is indistinguishable from the party, further highlighting the partisan agenda. In discussing the relationships between MSNBC hosts and Democratic politicians, Hamdan reveals the anchor and the politician are just in total agreement about everything. He adds, if you watch an interview with a Democratic politician, they just finish each other's sentences. Hamdan also didn't shy away from criticizing the network's audience. This is the best part. They've made their viewers dumber over the years, and explaining that MSNBC is too cozy with the Democratic politicians. So I'm going to play this video, but this goes back to what the man with the 200 IQ was saying. That the people who vote Democrat, the people who voted for Biden, are dumb. They think they're smart, but they're the dumbest ones in the room. And by the way, that makes the most dangerous people. People who are the dumbest ones in the room, who think they're the smartest, is a very dangerous person. Dangerous to the point that they will get you killed. Dangerous to the point where if you're in a car with them and they're driving off a cliff, in order to be right, they will drive off that cliff. And they have done that with this country. And the rest of us are sitting in the passenger seat not doing anything about it. And not only does a man with a 200 IQ, who's smarter than any liberal, and this guy who's a producer for MSNBC proves it beyond any reasonable doubt. And CNN is the same thing. I've had this discussion with a family member. Thank you, True Blue Trucker. Thank you for subscribing. So yeah, I mean, beyond any reasonable doubt, it now shows. And I was talking with I have a family member. CNN is on all the time, and I'm like, they're basically lying to you, right? I mean, there was another producer for CNN. I have that video, and they said that, well, after COVID, all we're going to be talking about is climate change. That's all we're going to talk about. Climate change. That's going to be our new thing. They know their viewers are idiots. But when I say CNN's lying to you, oh, well, you watch Fox News. I don't watch Fox News. It's hard for liberals to understand. Like, if you explain to them that, no, I don't watch Fox News. CNN tells you that I watch Fox News, and you're repeating what CNN told you or MSNBC said. I actually take time to watch people like James O'Keefe, who actually do have a video of an undercover video, hidden camera, showing the truth of what's going on in the world. Yeah, I don't understand. It's just the Harris for president signs. But see, this is, and I've said this before and I'll say it again, it's not the politicians' fault. I mean, what they're doing is their fault and how they're trying to kill us and do the things that they're doing. It's the voters that are our enemy. It's the people who vote for Harris and Biden. Those are the people that are the enemies of the United States. That's why I think, unfortunately, a lot of us have family members, and it's funny, it's the same family. Oh, you talk about the assassination of Trump. A lot of these liberals, they're completely indifferent. Instead of saying that's horrible, that shouldn't happen, it's horrible, this discourse, I mean, it should never come to that. They're just indifferent to it. A lot of them are, they wouldn't have had a problem if Donald Trump got killed. They wouldn't care. Those are the people that are voting. Those are the people that are all of us have in our families, and you have to cut them off. You just simply have to cut those people out of your life. We are now in a neo-civil war. I mean, we're in it. We're in a world war, soon to be a much more dangerous one. I mean, slowly we're getting sucked into because of Israel. Slowly, Israel's not going to stop with what's going on in Iran. The clean break memo makes it perfectly clear of what's going to happen. The clean break memo, written in the 1990s, basically said, it was written for Netanyahu. These neoconservatives said, you need to take out Syria, you need to take out Iraq, and Iran. You need to basically have preemptive strikes on all of these countries. And it's played out exactly that way, just like the clean break memo said. But getting back to MSNBC and CNN, these people, what this guy is about to say is, yeah, they're dumb. The viewers are stupid. They're stupid, and then they vote for people. And this guy's laughing like, it's like, did you realize what you're doing to the country? You're literally getting people killed because of these idiots who are voting for the ones who have the Harris and Biden or the Harris Walls signs in there. Walls is an actual communist, by the way. So is Harris. But Walls is, without question, is a communist. I mean, he's been to China and gotten awards in China for being basically a communist. So that's what you're voting for. So when the family member says, "Oh well, how upset I was that somebody tried to kill Trump," they go on, "Oh, are we having dinner next week?" Fuck you. No. I mean, this is how they think. These are people that are like, they're the ones that cause this problem. And by the way, the ones in Charlotte, the voters in Charlotte, Mecklenburg County, those areas are the ones that voted for the death and destruction that those in Western North Carolina are experiencing. And they're the same ones that, like, when all of a sudden somebody knocks on their door and takes them to the FEMA camp, they're like, well, I know I voted for Biden. I don't understand. Those are the people that go first in a communist revolution. It's the idiots like them who voted for it in the first place, because the communists know you're useless. You're a useless person. You're a useless human being. You are the useless eater. And the communists know that. But listen to this guy talk about his own viewers. It's great.
So do you feel like MSNBC is doing enough to help the Harris campaign?
I mean, they're doing all they can.
Meet Basil Hamden, a writer and producer for MSNBC's weekend show, Hyman. Basil also reveals that, quote, what her message of the day is their MSNBC's message of the day.
What have they done to help the Harris campaign?
Amplify her message. What her message of the day is their message of the day.
Hamden revealed that MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece and is doing anything to get Kamala elected. Hamden says this news network is indistinguishable from the Democratic Party.
So is MSNBC just like doing whatever it takes to get Kamala elected?
Yes. It hammers home the point that I'm making, that this news network is indistinguishable from the party.
Are they just the Democratic Party's mouthpiece?
Exactly.
MSNBC is the Democratic Party's mouthpiece.
Yes.
Basil calls MSNBC viewers brainwashed and states that MSNBC made their viewers dumber over the years.
Viewers get mad at the guests or the host if the host were to criticize Democrats. They've made their viewers dumber over the years. I think brainwashing and dumbing down,
it's bad.
Aggressive,
I get it.
Helps Trump.
When she's delivering these messages now, I think she keeps getting better.
Kamala Harris is telling the truth. The hate campaign against Kamala Harris has begun. They purposefully pronounce her name wrong.
But as a black woman, the product of a mixed marriage, she's an inspiration.
I don't know, Nicole, vote for her or don't vote for her, but isn't it great to just have a positive conversation right now?
Last week, we saw Vice President Kamala Harris's first mainstream.
So I won't play the whole thing because it's 11 minutes long. But there, you get the gist of it. That this guy is a writer and producer for MSNBC, and he comes right out and says what everybody already knows, that the viewers are dumb and that they're doing everything they can to get Kamala Harris elected. And you might ask yourself, why? I mean, why do people do this knowing that they're advocating for their own destruction? And it's just, they don't care because they can't think that far ahead. There are people in this world that literally, if you ask them, where do groceries come from? They'll tell you it comes from the grocery store. They have absolutely no clue what a supply chain is. They have no idea how the food got to the grocery store. The parts of the supply chain where it came from. So this guy is making money. It's a job, so he's going to keep his job, so he's going to go along, even though he's dumbing down progressives. And same with the NGOs. Same with the NGOs in Springfield, Ohio. Same with the NGOs on the southern border that are allowing illegal immigrants to come in. They make money off of this. But you watch Fox News. Fox News is no different than CNN or MSNBC. It's controlled opposition. They're not even opposition anymore. James O'Keefe, on the other hand, is news. James O'Keefe is showing you what's going on in the news that these liberals are watching. And and these voters, these people like my family members, and sure family members you have, regurgitate what they see on MSNBC and CNN because they're stupid. The man with the 200 IQ said so. Google just basically is doing the same thing. Once again, James O'Keefe caught another person at Google manipulating the results. This is why my YouTube channel has currently 3 people watching it, with 70,000 or 47,000 followers. Probably 300 to 400 new followers within the last 48 to 72 hours. You don't think that my YouTube channel is being manipulated? I have more people watching on Rumble, and I have 168 followers on Rumble. When I used to do lives, I would have 1,000 people easily. But this is what they're doing. They manipulate. And unfortunately, most of the people that I do get, conversing and getting involved is on YouTube. But Google is, and here it is. They are admitting that they manipulate search results and the search engine and everything driven on political bias.
Google was essentially promoting through its ads like rhetoric that was very like pro Kamala, and like it seemed to link out to like legitimate like news publication sites. So it like seemed like it was an ad from PBS, but it was really an ad for the Kamala campaign or whatever.
Meet Dakota Lieser, growth strategist and ad salesman at Google. Dakota Lieser goes on to say they're, quote, reorienting.
Marianne, make sure that you hit those notification bells. I'm curious to see if anybody even gets notified if I go live.
The search engine to favor Kamala Harris.
But it's like you go to Google, they're reorienting the search engine such that Kamala is more, favored. Facebook, I feel like, is promoting, content that is favorable towards her. A lot of the AI stuff that's sort of like proliferating right now is doing so in a way that's like generally favorable to her.
Dakota Lieser, growth strategist at Google, reveals that, quote, Google is a very progressive company, unquote. He admits that, quote, Google will allow a belief that one side will allow them to make more money.
I mean, Google's a very liberal, progressive company. If they have a belief that one side will allow them to make more money, I don't think it's like, at the very, very top, I don't think it's political. I think it's like economic. I think it's all about like the share or the stock price.
The Google growth strategist suggests that political headlines help generate ad revenue for Google.
These political headlines that are generating clicks, which generates ad revenue, it's all fueled out of hate.
Okay, so there you go. And a lot of this is they think they're going to make money. But how is Google stock doing? It's pretty much been flat. How is Disney stock doing? It's down. This is the thing that blows my mind, is how this DEI stuff, they think somehow it's going to generate more revenue, and it doesn't. Boeing is a good example. So, it's crazy to me. And so here you have MSNBC saying that they purposefully try to get Kamala Harris elected, and their viewers are idiots. Google does everything they possibly can in order to be pro Kamala Harris as well, because this guy thinks it's economic. These are the idiots, and they're the ones that are voting, and somehow they're the ones that are in control of everything. And what's so frustrating to me is, and it's almost seemingly a waste of my time, I try to go on alternative media like Rumble, and there's channels that get shown on the homepage that have several hundred viewers, and the content is ridiculous. So you're stuck as a content creator. You take off on YouTube, everything's going fine, and then the rug gets pulled. So, but you kind of have to stay on YouTube as long as they keep you on. But, at some point, what's going to end up happening is, the channel ends up getting shut down and you have no choice. But that's what they want. That's what they want you to do. They want you to give up. They don't want you to talk about these things. But Rumble, is extremely disappointing. And it may be that Rumble is compromised. It's very possible. As soon as he went public, I knew, this isn't going to last. But we are on Odyssey, BitChute. Was it Odyssey? Yeah, Odyssey and BitChute. And then, what's been actually pretty good. I'm wondering if any of you that are watching now, let me know if you're on X. Whatever you think of Elon Musk, that's fine. But I can tell you that I've actually had conversations with, I believe to be Elon Musk, who's under the pseudonym Adrian Dittman. And I won't go into the whole story, but this alternate account, it sounds exactly like him. There's no difference at all in the sound of his voice. He doesn't show his picture or anything, obviously, because if he did, you'd know that it was him. And the argument is that even mainstream media says that it is Elon Musk. He's doing it for SEC reasons related to Tesla and et cetera, et cetera. But even my conversations with him is, I think he's a genuine person. I think there are people that are going to try and destroy him because he is now wanting, or he's in the corner, Donald Trump's corner. So I think there's going to be a lot of things that are going to be said about him. Maybe he is. I'm not going to sit there and say for sure that he's not. But anyway, any of you on X, let me know. You're permanently disabled on X? When was the last time you tried to create an account? Because some things may have changed since then. Or if you try to make an account, maybe on, I think if you change your email or whatever, you can, I can't imagine you not being able to create another account, but yeah, so actually let me check. Yeah, again, I've got more views on, I guess I shouldn't complain about Rumble. More views on Rumble and more views on X. And hardly, and way less subscribers. So this just goes to show you what this YouTube is doing. So Biden, last thing of the day, of the night, and I'll briefly talk about Springfield, because Springfield I'm going to talk about very, it's a long there's an article that was written by this guy who did kind of an investigation. And it's too long to go into tonight. It'll take the show on too long. But here's President Biden, former Vice President Biden, because he's not legitimate, walks into the press room to audible gasps. Because people were like, oh my God, he actually came into the press room. This is crazy. Oh my God.
My name's Joe Biden.
Welcome, Mr. President. No, welcome, Mr. President. Everybody kisses his ass, and you see how corrupt the media is, because they're all corrupt. Now, if that were Donald Trump, you wouldn't hear a thing. You wouldn't hear a thing.
President.
We've been waiting for you.
Welcome to the swimming pool.
This is great.
Hey, look.
I think that's funny. So he walks in. Everybody's like, oh my God. I mean, first of all, they were surprised to see him because he's not president. You know, other people are actually running the country, as we all know. And then they kiss his ass. I mean, it's just disgusting to watch. It's just amazing how dumb these people are too. Like I said, and like the high IQ guy and these guys caught on hidden camera, they will tell you how dumb these liberals are, and they vote. And then on top of it, they still want to be friends. Are we still having dinner next week? No. I'm not going to have dinner with an asshole. I'm not going to have dinner with somebody who's trying to get the entire country killed. You notice, too, what's really funny is all these people who got all the COVID stuff wrong. They got all the lockdowns wrong. They got everything wrong. Chris Cuomo is a perfect example. All this lied about being in his basement when he was out there. He was out riding around, getting into fights with people while he was telling everybody he's in a lockdown. I mean, it's just, you know, all these people, including the politicians, still have the same job, even though they got everything wrong about COVID. Whitmer she gets elected again in Michigan. These people that allegedly tried to kidnap her, most of them were acquitted. They got the whole J6 thing wrong. Soon it's going to come out, I'm sure, about how many feds were involved in that. But these same people who got everything wrong, the lawfare wrong, COVID, the lockdowns, caused all these people to lose their jobs, lose their businesses. Biggest transfer of wealth in history. We have more billionaires than we ever had before because of the COVID lockdowns. But they're all still in power. And the only thing that took down Cuomo in New York was sexual, not that he put a bunch of people in a nursing home that had COVID and got a bunch of people killed. That's not what did it. And so the people like my family member who vote because they hate Donald Trump for Kamala Harris, you still want to have dinner next week? Why would I want to surround myself with somebody who makes a decision like that? Why is that? Like, what do I get out of that? So I could sit there and look at somebody who, I mean, the best way that I could describe it is somebody who just like shot me in the chest with a gun and said, "Hey, are we good for golf next week?" What? These people have no concept, and that high IQ guy and MSNBC proved it beyond any reasonable doubt. And North Carolina had the hurricane and the flash flooding. Springfield, Ohio has, and this, again, it's a long article. I'm going to do another I'll do another video on this. I'll probably do another live and just talk about Springfield. But there's a lot going on in Springfield that is not being talked about. So what's happening in Springfield is that the mayor of Springfield is making money off of the illegal immigration through rental properties. NGOs, pastors, corporations, local businesses are also making money off of the illegal immigration. And so this guy, Springfield Mayor Rob Rue, is lying, according to this article, and it makes sense to me, and I believe it, that he's saying that he's helpless. I can't. The federal government's doing this. There's nothing I can do about it. But meanwhile, he's cramming all of these illegals into his apartment and getting paid. And then there's just other various NGOs, churches, that are all trying to keep this silent because they're all getting rich off of it while they're destroying the country. So these, again, are dumb people who are letting these, and I mean, just the eating of the cats and dogs alone. And of course, Kamala Harris during the last debate sits there and laughs like it's not happening. But it just goes to show you how horrifyingly disgusting liberals are. And people like you and I know in our own families that vote for Joe Biden and Kamala Harris because they hate Trump. It's no problem with these Haitians torturing cats and dogs. I mean, Haitians killed every white person in Haiti in the 1800s. Every single one of them. You don't think that they'll do that in the U.S. in 2024? You don't think they have a problem with that? These are basically animals with zero IQ. And they will eat you if they need to. But people are so worried about making money that they have absolutely no qualms about this. They don't care about innocent animals being killed. They don't care about letting people in that have no business being here. Yeah, they get driver's licenses with no, and then they get car loans. I mean, here's another, like somebody, you have to have good credit, right, to buy a car? Apparently not with the banks that they work with. They could just, as long as you have a driver's license, which is being given to them, because obviously they want them to be voters. We've talked about that all night. They have a driver's license. They walk into a bank, get a loan. They don't have credit. You think they built a credit report in Haiti? And then somehow they get insurance too. And by the way, all of the people in Springfield can't afford their car insurance anymore. The ones with good driving records. Yeah, because the white people in Springfield aren't driving their cars into bridge abutments, but the Haitians are. And guess who gets to pay for all that? Not the Haitians, but all the good white drivers. And yet still no one pays attention. If you call it out, I mean, it has no meaning anymore, but people call you racist, anti-Semitic. I don't give a shit anymore. It's life or death at this point. So people either walk around with their heads so far up their ass, they have no idea what's going on because they're more worried about the Jets game tomorrow. Or they're afraid of being called a racist for calling out with it. And it's a defense mechanism by the communists. It's in the communist playbook. I'll show it to you. Right here. A look inside the communist playbook. How Marxists plan to destroy America. And it says right in here, this is straight out of Soviet communism. Straight out of Soviet communism. If someone questions anything you're doing, call them a racist. It shuts them up right away. But non-assimilating immigrants, number one, bring them in to destroy the country and then turn them into voters. And they're already doing that. They're registering them to vote. That's why they have driver's licenses. And then you get to pay for their insurance. So anyway, that is 2 hours tonight. I just decided at the last minute to kind of a test as well because of all the new subscribers on YouTube. Like I said, I've gotten, let's see, absolutely wild. Almost 400 subscribers in the last 72 hours. And I've had no more than concurrent viewers, 8 on YouTube. So way more on X, way more on Rumble. It's crazy. But again, this is what they're trying. I mean, this is what they're doing, and it's obvious. I mean, we just saw undercover video of a Google employee and MSNBC employee, how they manipulate the news and they manipulate the algorithm. So I mean, we know why they do it. But again, this is where we are in a new Bolshevik communist revolution. That's what we're going through right now. And if Donald Trump doesn't become president, because there is nobody else at this point, it's either Kamala Harris or Donald Trump, we're in serious trouble. We're in serious trouble. So anyway, thank you all for being here. Marianne, Craig, Kazan, Craig, thank you. Hope to see you guys again. I might come out again tomorrow just to give it another test and see what happens. And but we'll see. But yeah, thanks again for watching, and maybe see you all tomorrow.